Hey guys, before I start the video, I just wanted to clarify a few things. If you're on the Xbox One platform and you need help, I do apologize if I'm not able to help you off stream or on stream. The reason if I turn you down, it is because I have to do technical late game things and Warframe like Eidolons and Kuva farming in order to make platinum to keep things on the store for my reward system. So please don't be upset if I'm unable to play with you. It's nothing against you. It's just stuff that I have to do to make sure that I keep serving you guys as Twitch followers and YouTube subscribers. So please remember to drop a follow on my Twitch channel and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Remember to turn on the notifications. If you want more consistent communication with me, just follow the Discord, follow me on Twitter, follow me on Xbox, even though I'm not entirely sure how that works yet. Follow me on Twitch, and if you're curious as to how my giveaways work, just remember you could go straight to my Twitch channel, check out the commands list, and descriptions will be all over the place for you for whatever you want to learn. So thank you guys so much for listening, and on to the video. Hello everyone, Wolfram25 here, back with another Warframe video, and today I'm going to be showing you the new method and more effective method of farming ducats. Now, as you all know, at the time of this recording, the TannoCon digital ticket is currently out, and if you bought it, that means you're going to have access to Barra's special relay where he will have everything he has ever sold ever. Meaning, you're going to be wanting to be farming for a lot of ducats if you bought it, but if not, this is still a good guide to follow if you are trying to gain ducats like a crazy man.
What the f*** does that even mean?
So in this video, I'm going to show you all the best builds, all the best frames, and the best potential weapons to help speedruns, those captures, and exterminates, to help you get lots and lots of ducats and blueprints.
That's okay.
Or maybe if there's just particular parts of a frame or weapon that you need, you can also use this guide. Same rules apply, but anyway. On to our very first frame and our very first build. And that is going to be Saren Prime. A lot of people always try to get her because she is a magnificent DPS frame. She is still pretty much the top tier DPS queen in Warframe. There has been speculation that she may be reworked soon, but as of right now, I have not heard any news of her being reworked. This video is being recorded somewhat slightly before the Deadlock Protocol, or I think actually after it has been released on PC, but I'm on the Xbox One. So, enough of those details. Let's get on with the build, shall we?
Hell, it's about
What? So, Saren is primarily going to be used for her miasma, her fourth ability, and her spores. Not to mention her second ability called Molt, which gives you a speed boost. So you can also use Arcane Phantasma in conjunction with this, so when you only have a melee weapon equipped when you're doing speed runs, you'll gain a lot of extra sprint speed. So go with Sprint Boost, Rush, Arcane Phantasm if you can get it, and Energize because you're going to want to be using miasma a lot. If you're doing Lith and Meso, possibly Neo, it depends on what faction you're fighting. So it's going to be somewhat of a power-hungry build, since you only have the efficiency of 105. You're going to want to have as much range as possible for when you use miasma in the Lith and Meso, possibly Neo, captures and exterminates. Those are the best possible ways to farm 4 ducats. So when you use Molt, you shed Saren's skin, and it gives you a speed multiplier of 2.02, but it only lasts for about 3 to 4 seconds, but you can consistently spam it because if you're using Zenerk in conjunction with Arcane Energize, you'll be consistently regaining energy using your miasma and your Molt, consistently running through the level as quickly and fastly as possible. Now you may notice something a little bit off about this build. I am not running Flow or Prime Flow. So if you want to, you could always replace that with Rush. I only have Rush on because I wanted to see how much extra potential sprint speed that I could get. I may replace it with Prime Flow because I've actually been forgetting that I could run Molt consistently. I like to consistently use that ability, so that way I have a lot more energy starting out. There is a mod in Arbitrations, or not in Arbitrations, but you can get it from the Arbiters of Hexus from doing arbitrations and getting Vital Assassins. It's a mod that allows you to spawn or to start missions with max energy, so you could possibly fit that somewhere in this build, but this is what I've been running with her, and I've been able to complete runs in less than a minute and a half, a minute 15 seconds. It's very, very fast, very quick, because her miasma has such a large range, takes out the enemies just like that, especially Lith and Meso, possibly Neo if it's Corpus. Against Grenier, I don't think there's any captures or exterminates for Grineer in the Neo era. In Axii, I think it's primarily for Capture and Exterminates. It's primarily Infested, so it's going to work pretty well too, because Infested are pretty weak against Viral as well. And one thing before we move on to the next frame, I'm going to say this. I don't claim all of these best builds, or shit. I don't claim all of these builds to be the absolute best or most efficient. It's up to you to decide what you like, what could possibly be faster. This is just a video for your sake and to hopefully make your life a little bit easier in the wonderful world of Warframe.
No.
So next up we have Najah, and the reason for Najah is because you're going to be utilizing his Firewalker ability along with his Divine Spears, and if you're afraid of getting killed, you're just going to be using your Warding Halo. Divine Spears, if you want to have a good amount of radius on that, so I've chosen about 25 meters with my power range. In the Firewalker, you want to have a good amount of duration, so it's up to 63 seconds. Maybe, possibly, you could go more for efficiency and a little bit more strength, so that we can use Divine Spears more and even it out with some good range. But the actual build that I'm running with, again, is Arcane Energize in conjunction with Zeneric to gain consistent energy. Arcane Phantasm, so if I do have my melee weapon out and I decide to hold the block button, if I'm not using my Arcum, which is what I usually do, I can gain some more sprint speed that way. But since you'll be running all the sprint speed mods, Rush, Sprint Boost, Armored Agility, that's all the extra sprint speed, plus the 25% that you're going to be getting from Firewalker. So you're going to be moving pretty fast. I thought 136% range was pretty decent along with duration. Maybe you could swap out some duration for range and maybe strength. Efficiency, this can be entirely up to you. I just wanted something that was well-rounded, something that was going to be universal for, like I said, the Captures and Exterminates, because Najah has been well known to be kind of like a mixture of Volt and Rhino kind of mixed together. There's not much more else to explain in this build. The one thing I do want to mention, the primed mods are not an absolute necessity. You can go with regular variants if you so choose, but the prime theme of most of these builds is going to be using Arcane Energize along with the Zeneric class. And if you don't know what Zeneric class is, Energy Pulse, Energy Pickups grant 50% additional energy over 5 seconds, and Energizing Dash. Void Dash creates a zone of energy for 8 seconds. Allies passing through the zone gain 5 energy per second for 30 seconds. Two more great ways to gain energy really quickly, that way you can keep utilizing your abilities and you won't have to worry about running out of energy. And on to the next frame, we have Wukong Prime, and the reason for Wukong is his ability called Cloud Walker. And the duration for that at 3.58 seconds. Nothing is negative on this build at all, because the weapons that we're going to be using in every single run are mostly AoE weapons like Amprex, Kuvanu Core, Larkspur. I'll go into that list in just a little bit, but Cloudwalker is going to be your primary source of movement. I have Guardian and Strike on here. Energize is entirely up to you, along with using Zeneric, like I said. I have the Umbral mods on him from completing the Sacrifice quest and then fully upgraded. I also put an Umbral Format into him. I've always just kind of stuck with this build for both speed runs and endurance runs, because Wukong he doesn't die. Like Wukong doesn't care about your problems, man. He is all out, all in, just a very ultra speed frame. So because these are speed runs, you could swap out Adaptation for Narrow-Minded, because you're not going to need power range when you're running with him. I'm actually experimenting with that a little bit later, but as far as I'm able to tell, doing test runs, Saren has actually kind of been the quickest. There are 2 fissures currently up, and when I get through the frames, when I get done explaining all the frames and their builds, I'm going to run a few of those with each frame to see which actually is the legitimate quickest. So I kind of want to explain these quickly before this fissures runs out, but this is the build for Wukong. Next up, we have Mirage, and the reason for Mirage is her Hall of Mirrors combined with Hall of Malevolence, giving you more damage, and if you're using an AoE weapon like a Zaw, it will continue to extend out, and so will your AoE weapons like I said, Larkspur, Amprex, Kuvanu Core, Glaxion Vandal, if you were around during that event, in a sort of AoE weapon. Same kind of theme, Arcane Energize, Arcane Phantasm, all the sprint speed mods. You could use, like I said, use your middle weapon, block, get Arcane Phantasm to proc. If you don't know what Arcane Phantasm does, actually I haven't shown it yet. On block, 45% chance for 60% speed for 18 seconds. So this is a good potential way, but it's going to be like the old spin to win kind of way. So using consistently spamming your spin attack, and if you have a, like I said, a large radius type weapon like a blade and whip or pole arm, they all have the longest extended reach of melee weapons in the game. So if you want to filter those out, go to this, type in search, do pole arm, and it will show all the current pole arms. There's Castle War, Guandao, Kasheg, Legion, Orthos Prime. That's what a lot of people usually go with, is Orthos Prime if you haven't crafted a Zal yet. Pupe Assist, Seto, Sedan, Tombo, Vicor Sedan, regular Orthos. So just go with something that's going to have high damage and high crit chance, so that way, because you're going to be doing speed runs and they're low level enemies, you're just going to want a lot of base damage, I'm guessing. Now, one quick thing to mention, as far as companions go, that's going to be entirely up to you. I've either been running my Smedikavat or my Death Cube with Death Machine Rifle Prime, because I have Death Cube Prime. You could possibly run a Darza Kavat, which will proc the Cat's Eye, allowing you to gain 60% more critical chance on all your weapons. I don't think there's anything that could possibly make it more speedy, make it more quick, other than maybe a certain Sentinel build that I don't know about yet. There's not much I can really say about Sentinels and Companions. I've just kind of always stuck with those two because the Warframe powers are more so what's going to speak for the builds themselves when it comes to speedrunning these things. But on to the next frame. And I'm sure most of you saw this coming. I have gone with Volt, with Arcane Energize, Arcane Phantasm, Sprint Boost, and Rush, and Armored Agility, having all that extra sprint speed, having a good amount of power strength, and good power duration, somewhat decent efficiency with the Energize, and Zeneric, again, always going together for his particular build because of his speed boost ability, speed multiplier 2.24 with the current power strength that I have. You'll also be getting that semi-small power or damage boost with his passive ability, and his passive ground movement generates an electrical charge building up 5 damage per meter that is unleashed with it with the next attack. So since you're consistently moving, you're getting just a little bit extra power or a little bit extra damage output. And last but not least, Gauze. The reason I have chose Gauze, he's actually the main guy that I always go for, but Saren has been peaking better performance-wise when it comes to speedrunning Lith Captures and Lith Exterminates. Mesos, I haven't tested her out yet, but so Gauze is usually my main guy to go with, especially in Murmurs as well, with my arc gun with AoE weapons. AoE is kind of like the meta endgame right now if you want to be doing speed runs, doing things really efficiently. If you're doing endurance runs, of course you take a tank frame like Wukong or Rhino or Atlas or something like that. About the same setup. Energize, acceleration for my arc gun, because that's what I always use with him. He's already got good base sprint speed, so you could possibly swap one of these out. Swap out maybe my Cunning Drift with speed boost with like more sprint speed. His Mach Rush is already pretty fast as it is, so I didn't see much of a use of putting more sprint speed mods on him. So that's kind of, I guess it's kind of debatable. I didn't really want to put too many format into him, so I just did 3. So at this point, you're probably asking, is Energize absolutely necessary? And the answer is no, because like I said, you have one of 2 substitutes. Number 1 is running Zeneric, having those 2 nodes maxed out in your skill tree, or number 2, getting the mod from the Arbiters of Hexus that allows you to spawn with maximum energy on spawn, like when you first start out the run. So that's all it for the frames. If you have any comments or questions, you know where to leave them. So we're going to move on to the weapons now. And again, it's going to be the same thing. We want to be having nothing but AoE weapons. Like I've always just can't stress that enough. Your best bet is to just stick with AoE weapons. So Amprex is a good choice. The Kuva Brahma I do not have, so if you want to see the Amprex build, this is it right here. Again, not claiming this to be the absolute best. Currently has a Riven disposition of 2 because it's kind of a popular weapon, so they've kind of nerfed it. Experiment around with this in the Simulacrum if you haven't gotten there yet with Cephalon Samaris, which is easy to do doing regular Sanctuary Onslaught. Another good primary, like I said, Kuva Brahma. I don't have it yet. I haven't bothered to farm that many liches for Kuva Brahma yet. Other great weapon is to use the Ignis Wraith because, again, it's AoE. It can shoot through walls. It can deal damage pretty quickly if you get crit on it, if you have a crit Riven possibly on it. I have Toxin, Status Chance, and Weapon Recoil. Even with the disposition being at 1, it still does a very good job for speedrunning, because I use this for Grenier or Corrupted, and I use this for Corpus or Infested. All that gas damage does a pretty good number on them. So that's the build for that. Next weapon is going to be a long but not forgotten favorite. Now this is where your Sentinel will actually be required to carry your Prime, primarily for the reason of ammo case. Increases ammo capacity by 25% and converts ammo pickets into ammo for equipped weapon after 2 seconds. So the old favorite Lens is basically an older version of the Kuva Brahma. Has lots of AoE. It just needs probably good fire rate mods on it. It's meant to be crits. It deals cold and blast damage for its radial attack. I kind of wanted to play around with this a little bit, but you're going to need, like I said, more fire rate mods to help you get that full charge out. It only has a max ammo capacity of, I think it's 7 to 10, maybe 11. I can't remember. So you'll run out of ammo pretty quickly, but with the ammo case on your carrier, that's going to help out a lot. Help you keep consistent ammo for that. Next weapon is probably going to be, I say probably strongly because I don't know if this could possibly be viable or not, is Phantasma. This is the signature weapon for Revenant. It has a radial attack, but again, I don't know if I can necessarily consider this meta. My personal favorites currently is Amprex or Ignis Wraith, Kuva Nucor, and the Larkspur Arc Gun. And we'll get to the Kuva Nucor and the Larkspur in just a second. I just wanted to go through all the possible weapons, all the possible combos you could do when you're trying to speedrun. This is my build for the Phantasma. Again, not claiming it's the best. Probably isn't, but this is just kind of what I built it for. On to the next weapon, the Kuva Nucor. Way you get Kuva Nucors through the current Lich system. If you don't know what Liches are, I plan on making a video on how to farm those guys really easily, how to get your impersonal Lich, how to do things efficiently. I currently have a Riven on my Kuva Nucor. It's not the greatest roll, but it has the highest base crit multiplier in the game. So it can deal a lot of damage even if you're just doing endurance runs. But for speed runs, since again it has that AoE, it works really well with Mirage, I'll tell you that much, because all that extra AoE. This is my build for it. I don't think this is the best build. I really do need to go back in the Simulacrum since I rerolled my Riven recently and try it out. But yeah, definitely grab Kuva Nucor. There is a spreadsheet for what damage roll you decide to get on your weapon. It can be Toxin, Electric, Radiation, Impact. Me personally, I've always stuck with Toxin and Radiation, so that's why I have the Viral on it. I went with Toxin. Some people will go more extra Radiation damage, but this is the build for it. Eject Magazine, so you're probably looking over here like, what is this? What does that do? 20% magazine reloaded, one holstered. I got that from Scarlet Spear when it was around, because they were dropping like flies from the Sentinels, or not Sentinels, Sentients that we were killing. It's actually kind of a rare mod. I might try and sell some of those pretty soon, but on to the next weapon. Again, our theme is AoE weapons. An AoE weapon called Acarius, which you get from a Grenier tile set Disruption. I haven't played with them. I haven't played around with them. They're another AoE weapon, so I don't know how they handle, how well they perform. But if you want more little tiny boom boom sticks of death and destruction, try and get Acarius, either buy them or get them from the Disruption mission. It's not on Sedna, it is from a Grenier Disruption. I forget which particular planet and tile set, so just look that up on the Warframe wiki. I don't have a build for it. Like I said, I haven't played around with them, so I'm just going to move on to the next two weapons. Another AoE weapon is Angstrom. Again, haven't fooled around with this too much, but I did have a Prisma Angstrom a while back, which you get from Barrow whenever he decides to bring it along with himself. I used to have a Riven for it a while back. It's primarily status, somewhat crit based, so you could kind of just make it a hybrid weapon, and since it's a speed runs, you just kind of want to go like as much crit chance and a status chance at the possible same time. Damage mods, I don't know if I worry too much about that. It's going to be entirely up to you. Just experiment around with it and kind of feel out what you feel is probably the most beneficial type of build to go with. I would say a lot of multi-shot is going to be pretty handy, because it's, like I said, it's an AoE weapon, so the more multi-shot you have on it, if you're lucky enough and you have a Riven for it, I used to back in the day, it's actually a pretty fun gun. Lots and lots of death and destruction in the wake of this blasty pistol thing. Now, the next two weapons I do not recommend, and the reason for that is because they've been highly nerfed over the past few years. They were weapons of choice for a very long time for many Tenno, and that is the Sonicore and the Staticore. I'm not going to bother showing builds for them because, like I said, I just don't recommend them. The Sonicore Riven Disposition is one. It doesn't have great crit chance or status chance. It's just known for its AoE output. Staticore, you want a lot of fire rate. It is kind of well balanced with 14% crit chance, 20% status. You're gonna, like I said, you're gonna want fire rate mods on it because it can do AoE with fully charged shots. Just single shots themselves aren't gonna do that much, so that's entirely up to you. I don't. Yeah, see, the Riven Disposition's been nerfed on it as well. Whenever everybody starts using the same weapons, they decide to nerf that weapon. You have to kill our fun somehow, but like I said, don't really recommend them, so we're going to move on to the next weapon. Or weapons, I should say. Like I said, go with polearms. Polearms are going to be your best friend, at least in my opinion, when you're doing speedruns, because like I said, it has great reach, and if you have a Riven on it and you roll it for more range, any of these will be completely fine. You can find all of these in the Tenno labs, in the Corpus labs, in the Infested labs. It's primarily in your dojos. You can get a lot of these blueprints in your dojos, except for the Vacor Sedan. You get that from Still Meridian with 125,000 rep. Orthos Prime, Prime weapon, pretty easy to get. You probably get a full Orthos set for like 10 to 15 plat in the trade market right now, so. Kasheg, I think you get that blueprint when you complete the War Within, but all these are decent. Blade and Whip and Blades, that's going to be entirely up to you to experiment around with. So we're going to move on to the last pièce de résistance, which is the Larkspur.
This is done.
The Larkspur is, again, another AoE weapon. I have a Riven on it, of course. Minus damage to Corpus, status chance, and heat. It has a 2 disposition, has a lot of status chance, so it can do a lot of status output. So I use this build for Grenier with a lot of corrosive, has good heat. It also has a charge attack, but I think it's better just to use the held version, or the held mode, and just have continuous fire. And I use this build for Corpus and Infested, for the radiation, gas, and magnetic. Again, not claiming this to be the absolute best. This probably isn't actually the best roll that I could get, but it's been serving me very well in speed runs and in murmurs farming, doing really, really quick runs with those. Some of these mods, marked target, you can get from transmuting mods. Getting dual status mods for your arc gun can be kind of a pain. I think you can get most of them right now from doing Profit Taker runs. So I know most people don't like the Profit Taker, but it's actually kind of worth it because you can make some plat off of gaining more toroids and farming for them and selling the spare arcanes that you get. So that is all the weapons, guys. Again, I can't stress this enough. Definitely look into Zeneric and making it your main focus school if getting ducats or just prime parts in general is kind of your primary goal right now. Get a focus lens and get one for Zeneric, Energy Pulse, Energizing Dash. Worry about those two and you'll be able to regenerate energy pretty quickly. There's also a mod that I didn't know about for a while for Death Cube called Death Energy or something like that. I can't remember the exact mod name. It's when it assists in 10 kills, it'll drop a energy orb, which is pretty cool. So that way you at least have guaranteed chances of regaining your energy that particular way. It can be the regular Death Cube too. It doesn't have to be Death Cube Prime. The regular Death Cube you can get off the market, buy the blueprint, and just craft him. So I'm going to do a few speed runs. I'm going to set up for it, and I will see you guys in a bit. Just enjoy the footage, and I'll meet you at the end. Alright, so the best current faction is Neos, so I'm going to probably do that. I'm trying to do speed runs of Neo capture on Abaddon and Europa. Like I said, exterminates and captures. Exterminates and captures. If you're an endurance run guy, definitely go for survivals or interceptions. Defenses take too long. If you like endurance runs, survivals, interceptions, you're going to be your best bet. Let's get into it. If you're wondering why I'm not doing this in a group, it's because most of the time it takes too long for randoms to get to the extraction, so I just prefer to do it solo.
You are here on a capture mission. You must find, capture, and extract our target. Watch out. I'm detecting gold fishers nearby. Do you have a matching relic?
One quick thing to note while I'm doing this, I have my energy pads hot keyed to right on my D-pad on my controller. Like I said, I'm on the Xbox One. But sometimes if I run out of energy, I'll just use a energy pad real quick. So I did that run in 2 minutes and 15 seconds. So the miasma is definitely going to be primarily useful in Lith and Meso against Corpus. Grenier and Lith is going to be alright, but Grenier and Meso probably not so much since they're a higher level. And I'm sure as you saw, I dashed towards the extraction at the end there with my operator. So getting it to focus is definitely something you want to invest into. That way you can dash 5 times. So that we did in 2 minutes and 30 seconds, and that's because I'm not really used to running Nejah that much, and I also forgot to switch to Zeneric on that, so I wasn't gaining as much potential energy as I could have. Only possible problem is nullifiers in that. I probably want to say the same thing about Nejah as I did Saren, is against Lith Grenier and Lith Corpus, Nejah is going to be useful, maybe against Meso Corpus. But against Meso Grenier, it's going to be hard for his fourth to be able to be fully efficient damage-wise, since it doesn't do too much damage in order to one-shot everything like it should, or like it needs to. So you're mostly relying in these runs on sprint speed and your damage weapons, or your damage output on your weapons. I'm just going to switch this to Energize just in case. Should probably make a different build. I'm gonna try and not use my arc gun too much, that way you guys can see just how effective using these other weapons can be.
Grenier
No, 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 no.
Are heading in your direction.
Where am I?
And 2 minutes and 13 seconds on that run. So in Neo, it is going to add some time, I guess, just because the enemies aren't as low a level. But I still think it's a pretty decent speed run at that kind of time, especially if you're soloing. And if you're on PC, your load time is going to be a lot better, especially if you got a beefy PC.
Definitely feel like this run's gonna be a lot slower. Why does he just spawn back down that way? Okay. An arcane fin.
Phantasm proc actually helps a lot. Helps a lot. Just making sure it stays procced is the issue. 2 minutes and 50 seconds on that run. So if you do want Arcane Phantasm to have a higher chance of proccing, quick remedy for that is to just always have a melee weapon equipped and like nothing else. Just dump your primary and dump your secondary and just run melee. That's if you have really good range on the weapon though.
What I did forget to do is I forgot to bring my Death Beaver container with me. So nothing's getting vacuumed to me.
One annoying aspect about doing speedruns sometimes is enemies won't spawn when you want them to. If they do, the figures spawn, and they spawn in like the most inconvenient places. It just depends on the tile set.
do that and screw up in parkour.
I did that in 2 minutes and 43 seconds. And if the spawning hadn't messed up, that probably would have been a lot faster. Sometimes luck just isn't on your side. So, 2 things I actually forgot to mention about Gauze. Red line, everything increases massively. Your fire rate, attack speed, reload speed, holster rate. And that's pretty useful for all your weapons and everything. And kinetic plating, that'll help you survive, so if you're worried about dying, you just use that. So it's always good to use your red line and your kinetic plating. So that's why I go for Arcane Energize. Because you also shoot out like little bits of energy when you're in that mode too. For guys, just to let you know, I definitely will use my Larkspur. It's always my go-to weapon with Gauze.
See, the spawn's messed up again.
Yeah, 2 minutes 46. Not the best run, but... So the last thing I guess I'll mention, since I got through all those runs, is the Larkspur. You're going to have to get your Arc Gun Deployer by getting to rank 5 in Fortuna on Venus. And you'll do the first 3 missions, you'll get your Arc Gun Deployer for your gear wheel, and then you need something called a Gravimax Systems in order to call it down. It's only 20 platinum, and that's pretty much all the advice that I have. So here's a little bit of self-promotion. If you're on the Xbox One platform and you're struggling a little bit, I stream every single Sunday, Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday. I have a Discord, I have a Twitch, I have a YouTube, I have a Twitter. I'll leave a link to every single kind of social medias that I can in the description below. If you have any comments or questions, please, again, leave them in the comments section below. I really hope you found this guide useful, and I really hope you can be on your way to farming some good amount of ducats pretty easily. There is one other option. There is one other option, last resort, if you're in desperate need for ducats before bearer arrives and you have a little bit of platinum. And that is going to trade chat and typing wanting to buy prime junk. And full trade, you're going to be doing about 12 platinum per trade. It's 2 platinum per piece. Some people do 1 platinum per piece, but I feel like that's kind of a rip-off. 12 platinum per full trade. I have actually gotten some rare pieces from doing this, believe it or not. So do this at your own discretion if you do have a good amount of platinum. So I have 28 trades or 27 trades per day, so I could spend about 250 plat per day on getting maybe 2k, 3k ducats, but that's entirely up to you if you choose to spend that kind of plat. There's really no other kind of tips or tricks I can tell you, so I hope you found those builds good, I hope you found this guide useful, and remember everybody, strive proudly, how loudly. Thank you all so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Have a good night, guys.